too small, I got big dreams.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Pun Fun, where we have fun with the puns. My name is Ryan, and we're going to check out WandaVision 2, The Multiverse of Madness. If you haven't yet seen WandaVision 2, The Multiverse of Madness, please be sure to do so, as there are going to be major spoiler alerts ahead. And no, there's no corrections to that title, because, the focus was strictly, almost mainly on, WandaVision, or Wanda and her kids. So, without further ado, we're going to do this 90s style as usual. We have this big envelope here with the results that are in, basically, telling us who exactly is the father. Because in the movie, it doesn't explicitly say who is the father for Speed and Wiccan of a certain alternate universe. And we actually, through the MCU and through the comic books, have some test results for you. Now, we're actually going to get into that a little later in the video, but I need to kind of build up and explain the results, but also, bring out some elements that we see through the movie and also through the comic books to justify exactly why the answer is what it is. Anyways, let's get into it. First of all, we're going to talk about how Wanda is dream walking through the multiverse, and she finds this Wanda with a Speed and Wiccan. Now, is this the initial one that she had dreamt of in her dream and took knowledge of and, recreated them through that image in her own little pocket universe in WandaVision, the miniseries on Disney+. Obviously, surely, but she's seen many versions of them. Now, the one that she goes attack, is there a specific reason why she attacks this one, in particular? Is it because Wanda is on her own? Is it because the other Wandas may have another parental figure that may be guarding or helping protect, Speed and Wiccan? Or is this maybe just a weakened version of Wanda and it's easy to pick off? Anyways, that's something that's, key point for sure. And it's going to bring us to our topic of who that additional parental person may be. However, Wanda can definitely raise these kids on her own. Props out to you single moms out there, doing it and making it work and bringing, your kids to fruition for sure. But biologically speaking, you need, the two elements together to make it happen. And of course, there's magic, but we're going to see if there's something beyond magic just for now anyways. Let's get into it. First of all, we have Wanda finally, going into this multiverse, taking the kids, beating up the Wanda, backhanding as much as she can. And in this universe, we also find out that the Ultron didn't come to fruition, to become evil, did not hook up himself to the internet and be like, oh my god, I need to, clean this infestation. Now, the peacekeeping program that was initiated by Tony Stark that we see in Age of Ultron, of course, I guess worked out for the best and didn't get corrupted. And in this case, there was no Vision, and I guess Wanda didn't find that love with Vision and went on to bigger and better things later in life. Now, that is a question that people have been asking on the internet. Because there's no Vision, is this why there is Speed and Wiccan? Well, no. Vision didn't really help in, creating the magic, if you will, to create Speed and Wiccan. It was all Wanda, and it was created by magic in WandaVision. So this goes to say, even in the comic books, Vision really doesn't have a say. He doesn't really, get involved, if you will, or has any kind of, Anyways, one thing to take away is that, is there a possibility that in that universe, or the 838, there may be another Vision, even if Ultron exists as the peacekeeping program? And the answer is yes. The original Vision was created by taking parts of the Human Torch, which was an android back in the days before it became Chris Evans, and it actually became a human who was able to, become inflamed and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, that is another thing. So now, and then Ultron basically goes and creates him as a symbol of himself, kind of like a sun. So not having the Ultron corrupt that android-esque, reconstruction. There's other characters that have created AIs. So who's to say there isn't like another AI like Jarvis or something that gets popped in into that, android suit, if you will, or body, and it ultimately becomes Vision anyways. So there's a possibility that Vision still exists. So even though there is the peacekeeping Ultrons that may have, newly been built, it doesn't mean that there wasn't a failed Ultron to begin with, meaning that there was that, evil Ultron, there was the breakaway, which is Vision, and then that Ultron got defeated. Now remember, there was scraps and pieces that were taken away in Spider-Man Homecoming, who's to say they didn't use that and utilize that and, recreated the peacekeeping version? Anyways, we're getting off topic here, but it's something to keep in mind that Vision can still be created regardless if that Ultron program worked or not. So now that we have and we ruled, Vision kind of out of the way, who can also be in an entanglement with Wanda? Well, there's actually Mephisto. So I know the internet's been going crazy. I know there's, memes and all that about Mephisto, but I mean in the comic books that is actually how the kids actually do come around to be in existence. In the beginning, it's actually Wiccan and Speed that were born through basically Mephisto having her give the pushes, and then boom, ultimately he impregnates her, if you will, in a biblical sense, I guess. And then basically through them come out and be like, hey, you've created me instead. And the two kids were actually never born. Their souls, however, do get taken away and gets transposed somewhere else. And we'll finish that off at the very end of the whole episode to what, that can be. But the concept of Mephisto is very much alive in the community of the MCU. And we're now seeing that the MCU isn't actually, name dropping certain things. They kind of understand that people will seek channels to understand more what's going on, or of their own understanding of the comic books, figure out what's happening. For example, those Atlantis drops, no one's explained exactly explicitly, especially by the MCU, who he is and so on. We did think that they would put him in the Illuminati. They haven't. So I mean, just that alone, I mean, there's probably going to be an alternate build-up for him later on, but they've already started name dropping. Anyways, just to bring out the point that Mephisto may be something that they will confirm later on. And I mean, it's something that we're going to toy with for sure. However, it is a plausible, deal that Wanda may have created and, basically created the children via that magic. Now, is he the father? I mean, there's a potential. It's plausible, if you will. But we have a better theory, so we're going to get, push that aside for a second. Now, for one that's a bit more risque, we do have her and her brother Quicksilver. So, what if Wanda did not join the Avengers? What if, she was able to overrule Strucker, Hail Hydra, and was basically able to live her life, go her own way? She may have also just went into Westview, created her kids by magic, and she's, having the time of her life. They grew up, maybe they become matter. I don't know exactly where that's going. However, there is a possibility that, hey, she hooked up with her brother. And I know this sounds really weird, and I know it's incestual, but it actually does happen in the comic books. As weird as it is, there's, books, and here I'll even put like a few frames here where, yeah, it actually does occur. They do get very intimate, and it's explicitly stated in the comic book, which is weird for Marvel's part. But that all being said, the House of Mouse would not allow that. Absolutely not. I mean, yeah, no way. There's no chance of that happening. So we can definitely strike him off. However, it does make sense for a speedster, and we also have somebody of magic, being both Quicksilver and Wanda. But I mean, that can also just be in the genes themselves. So it may have originated from the family or from the parents. Her parents. So maybe Magneto or her adoptive parents. These can definitely just be adoptive kids that initially were maybe an X-Men, if you will, that hasn't explicitly been shown, but I did love the the soundtrack theme drop when we saw Xavier pop out. I mean, that was definitely cool. Anyways, yeah, so she could have just basically adopted them and even maybe enhanced their powers via her own magic. Or there's that father that's just off screen, so meaning that we haven't met the father yet. Will we ever meet him? Maybe. So now that we've pruned that branch of basically Disney would not want to play with anyways, would brotherly love and all that, we can now pretty much say, hey, maybe it's an off-screen father, meaning that we haven't seen him in the episode. He wasn't there because maybe he was at work, or I would think Wanda would have either summoned him or got him involved, unless he's a human, and in this case she didn't really need him except for specific purposes, and he was maybe not able to fend himself off this Wanda, where Wanda really knew that, hey, this character is beyond him and myself, so maybe I shouldn't get him involved anyways. So yeah, it could just be MCU's off-screen daddy, and we will not see him for a good while, if ever, which will make it into a plot hole. So it could just be Marvel's plot hole that they're not going to basically conclude or they're going to, fulfill in any way, just kind of like, hey, they existed is some of the backstory, because you got so much about them in their past. This is them now. So what is the fate of these kids? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're here to stay, especially with the MCU. Having the Young Avengers kind of come together, especially with already Speed, Wiccan, you'll have Kate Bishop, Yolanda, and the only person that's really missing is Iron Lad. So Iron Lad eventually does become Kang, so he continues off to be Kang the Conqueror, but he is initially the one that got the Young Avengers put together or created together and actually brought the two brothers together. Now, we had mentioned previously that the two brothers, their soul was taken away when Mephisto was defeated and carried out. They were then, put into these other characters or two other people that kind of grew up on their own terms and then got reunited because of Iron Lad. So that can be something that they can potentially use down the line. They do forget that their mother was Wanda, because they grew up somewhere else. But also Wanda herself forgets via the comic books because Agatha helps her, erase that part of her memory. So it could be that Wanda from our MCU now goes, well, I mean, if she's dead, will now go back to Agatha and seek ways or help to remove these kids from her mind or brainwash her out of it. Anyways, we'll get back to that in a couple, episodes down the line. What we do also know is that Kang is very much present. So we've had his iteration being Immortus, so He Who Remains. They also had rama-tut, so the Avatar. Back when, even for Emmett, so even the Scarab and the staff were definitely created by Kang via the books. Even one of the last QR codes that they provided in the last finale episode is a book regarding Moon Knight versus Kang. So he's very much present. And I'm definitely excited to see how they're going to tie this up and seeing him, his whole entire iteration without actually putting so much emphasis on him, except for obviously Loki, where we saw him physically. Other than that, it was so cool that we were getting this character build up without actually having so much of him pop up as they did with Thanos. So we'll see where they go down the line with that. And lastly, it's what we all came here for, is the results that are in. So we're gonna break this down once more and in a quick fashion. So you have Vision. Is he the father? Hells no. Biologically speaking, of course he's not. However, he could be their father figure. He can, be their father in a sense, an adoptive father, if you will. Where is he? He got a new coat of paint and he bounced. So we haven't seen him throughout the MCU yet, except for WandaVision, of course. Where will we see him next? I thought maybe we would see him in the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but we did not. So where is his next pop-up going to be? So, is Vision the father? No. Quicksilver. Is Quicksilver the father? I don't think that was something that Disney wants to touch at all. So we're definitely putting a big nope on that by all means. Now for Memphisto. Mephisto is going to be an interesting character, and I know the internet's probably fed up of him already. But if he is the off-screen father that we did not get to see within the universe 838, it can definitely be plausible. It can be a way for him to impregnate her and then later on pop up, as the villain and kind of get, more of an explanation and would be able to close up that plot hole. However, I don't even know if Disney wants to go down that line. We're going to see. So, big, giant plausible on that end. And for something that may occur is another off-screen father, so that can also be another plausibility. Now for magic, magic has been great. It's been wonderful. It's been what's been creating a lot of things, even the whole entire town, if you will. Can also be plausible. However, Wanda could have just created her own versions, her own self. However, in WandaVision, she does get enlightened, and she's like, you know what? I do not want these copies or illusions, if you will. I'd rather have the actual beings. So at some point those ones had to be organic, and she must have also known that those were organic and not conjured by Wanda's magic. So definitely we can X out magic as being the father. Finally, is it the giant gaping plot hole that basically the MCU has created? We're gonna put a big fat yes for now. You are the father. until, of course, the MCU finds a way to kind of smoothen that out and correct it via something else. Because, I mean, they're usually ahead of themselves, and if not, they do find clever ways to kind of like smoothen things out and give out a pretty nice explanation. So, until that's done, the giant plot hole, you are the father, and plausibly it may also be the Mephisto, but, you know, we're going to confirm that anytime soon. So, that all being said, we definitely hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, we definitely suggest you hit that like button. Also, you can hit that subscribe button. This way, you stay on top of everything at all times, and anytime we do these breakdowns for these comic books, or comic book oriented stuff, like, for example, having our comic book creators on our show. We currently have one on the François Vigneault episode. We also have another one on the Brian Baugh episode. 2 different contests, lots of comics to be won. You do not want to miss out. I mean, one of them is for 8 comics regarding his 2 first volumes, so that's pretty cool. And then for the Brian Baugh, it is his first edition signed by him. And yeah, you definitely don't want to miss out on that. Also, we can see that Wanda is limping off the stage and going towards an alternate universe. For her, I guess she was hoping for a better answer. I guess as fans as well, we do hope for a better answer as well. That all being said, take it easy, guys. Peace.